Hey everybody, it's Professor Norwood. With it being the first day of class, I just wanted to make a quick video to help you all get started. And also to prove that I'm a real person, not an AI. All right. So when you log into D2L, you see this is your first page. Since this is an online asynchronous class. D2L is going to basically be our hub for I prefer to communicate via email, but you can message me on D2L. And this is where our assignments will be. This is where you're going to upload assignments, and this is also where you'll find just course content. So when you open D2L, you get this message. For you all, there will be a weekly message here, just kind of, refreshing, what's going on for that week. Also, if there's any announcements or anything of that nature, I will make sure I, get those posted to D2L. All right. Then as students, if you've been here, you probably already heard this before, but if you are a new student, just get yourself in the habit of one, checking D2L regularly, really daily, and also checking your school email address daily. If you're tech savvy, you can get your email set up to go to your phone. I believe students, you all use the Gmail platform, whereas we, as faculty, use the Exchange platform for some reason, or excuse me, Outlook. But so that's that, just get in the habit of checking those daily, your D2L and your school email. All right. So, first day, read this message, go to the course information module. Bing. Right. And that'll take you here. Okay. It's a little bit about me. I actually need to update this. I need to switch my office, of course. My new office will be in Royal Oak, so I will get that updated as soon as possible. Once I get the keys. All right. My email address is here. That's the same. And I've been at OCC for 10 plus years. I'm actually going into my 15th year. So I guess that's a good thing. All right. I like it here. Classes I've taught 1055, 1060. These are our academic literacy classes that we no longer offer. 1510. I also teach the S and the E section of 1510, the support and the enhanced section of 1510. 1520, which is Comp 2. Many of you may have to take Comp 2, but check with your counselor first because everyone doesn't have to take D2L. Excuse me, doesn't have to take Comp 2. All right. And 1710 readings in contemporary lit. Haven't taught that one in a while, but I'm looking forward to getting back into it. And then 2570 survey of African American lit, which I do teach every winter. And it's an online section. So if you need a humanities credit, next semester, or if you're just interested in taking a literature class, I'm happy to have you as a student. And I am also faculty advisor to the OCC Black Student Union. We are getting our meeting scheduled together this week, and hopefully, we can start meeting as soon as possible so we can get just get back into the swing of things. So yeah, but I will update this and hopefully you will learn more about me throughout the semester, as I learn more about you through your writing. All right. So back to the course information module we go. All right. I'm going to go over the syllabus in a minute here, but now our textbook is available in the bookstore. But it's also, if you want to get it right from the publisher, it's available here as well. You can just click, purchase options, and wow, it went up. Okay. Used to be a little bit cheaper. But wow, and it's only 360 day access now. Wow, interesting. Okay, so it used to be cheaper, and I don't think your access ended, in the first when you were first able to get this book online. However, 360 days is plenty, for us. So if you just want to get it and you're okay with an ebook, which is what I prefer an ebook for this class, make sure you get that. You can just go purchase or register for access. If you bought a hard copy of the book, one, make sure you buy, if you plan on getting a hard copy of the book, make sure you get it brand new. All right. Or if it's not brand new, Make sure it comes with a registration code. All right. And it's a little scratch off code that you'll need to access the online component of our book. So if you are, getting a hard copy of the book or, a physical copy of the book, just see that it has that registration code. If you plan to go the Amazon route, sometimes they do have the code, sometimes they don't. So really your safest bets are either the OCC bookstore or you can just get it right from the publisher. Or if you're kind of undecided right now, you can just sign up for 21 days of trial access. All right. And then that's that. But I will come back to I'll come back to our textbook in a second. All right. And here's some additional material that's related to our textbook. All right. Here is a discussion post for this week, and really you just introduce yourself, but there will be periodic, discussion posts, and they're not too intense, just, a basic question. All right. Answer to the best of your ability, in your own words, please. All right. And this is just how to get your assignments uploaded to D2L. All right. So now for the syllabus. Okay. You can click on the syllabus. Sometimes it takes a while for it to render. So if you want this as a Word doc, you can just go download. And here's the syllabus. I'm not going to go over this thing like verbatim. Okay, there it is. It finally rendered. I'm not going to go over this thing all the way. I'm just going to hit some of the important parts, even though all of it's important. All right. All right. So 1510 R 1505 fall 25. Office hours are here. Okay. Today is going to be hectic, so I probably won't have office hours as I'm transitioning, to my new office. Um, However, if you ever want to meet, you just shoot me an email and we can work something out, even if it's outside of office hours. If I'm not teaching, I do teach several in-person classes as well. So if I'm not teaching, we can probably work something out. All right, meeting days and times for this course. We are asynchronous. So again, check D2L regularly because that's where your work is going to be posted. All right. Course catalog description, you can go over all that yourself. Okay, I'll stop right here. Gen Ed outcomes. Critical thinking is a very important aspect of this class. Um, Really, I would say all of your classes because you aren't going to do much that doesn't involve some aspect of critical thinking. And it's really just, being able to look at things from multiple perspectives, not always necessarily accepting things on their face as their at their face value. And it's really the process of, evaluating information, something that's sorely needed, in the times we live in where, we're constantly taking in information. All right, so critical thinking, that's something that's vital to this class, as is effective communication. With us, we'll be focusing primarily on the written word, but some oral communication is still, important. All right, let's see. All right, demonstrate. Okay, textbook, we went over that. Again, here's our book, The Little Seagull Handbook with exercises, fifth edition. And here's the authors. This is the link to get it right from the publisher, but as I just said, it is available in our bookstore. All right. I can't stress this enough though, folks. Don't get a used book without that registration code because even if you get a used book and it doesn't have the code, you're still going to have to purchase it. Purchase the registration code separately. All right. Word, it's free for students. So, you can click this link and it takes you here. Hopefully it still works. All right. Computer. Okay. Probably just infected my computer. No. All right. And then you can just hit get started and it'll take you through the process. Used to be the full seat suite, but a few of my students have informed me that it's only the online office, which kind of sucks, but you can explore that. on your own to see what's what. Get back here, syllabus. Okay. Handbook. Oh yeah, I got to read this plagiarism stuff. All right. It is the college policy that no student shall engage in behavior which, in the judgment of the instructor of the class, may be construed as academic dishonesty. This may include, but is not limited to, plagiarism, presenting other individuals' ideas, data, words, images, or other products without giving credit to the originator, or other forms of academic dishonesty, such as the acquisition without permission of tests and other academic materials and or distribution of the same. This includes students who aid and abet as well as those who attempt such behavior. All right. In short, do your own work. All right. Do your own work. There is really no need, to copy material from outside sources. In this class, it's all about you producing your best work and, try not to place the burden of perfection on yourself because I'm certainly not. No piece of writing is perfect. All right. AI, I'm okay with some uses of artificial intelligence. I use it, for certain things. I'll tell you what I am okay with, or I'll show you what I am okay with, better yet. So if we go to ChatGPT, I use Gemini, but I use ChatGPT just for show. All right. And you ask it a question. All right. Let's say you're writing an argument essay, on the benefits of free college, right? Or you're arguing that college should be free. I'm okay with you, consulting ChatGPT, maybe asking, that particular question. But now this is just the beginning of your work because now go research this stuff. All right. If ChatGPT tells you that, free education could possibly increase, access, go look into that. All right. So ChatGPT can be a great springboard for research. However, don't use it to generate text for you. Because again, that's not your work. That's, artificial intelligence generated work. Which is not why we're here. All right. So always, trust your own words. Even if you use Grammarly to, spell check or go over your stuff and Grammarly says, hey, don't say it like this, say it like that. Always stick with your original wording because one, Grammarly, if you incorporate that stuff, is going to increase your AI score on Turnitin, which is not a good thing. All right. And then, you're getting away from your original work. So say it the way you would have said it. Okay. Trust your own words. All right. Have confidence in yourself. Okay. Sounds like a plan. Okay. So here, let me read the official policy. AI can be a useful tool. However, it's not a crutch. You may use AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., to brainstorm and generate ideas, but understand that relying on these resources too much can stifle your own creativity and critical thinking. Okay. Can stifle your own creativity and critical thinking. Two assets you're going to have to use as a student. All right. So you may not use AI generated text in your essays or other assignments. Attempting to pass off AI generated text as your own work constitutes plagiarism. Okay. Also, folks, proofread your work, as I just had an error to fix there. All right. You are permitted to use Grammarly for editing and proofreading, but I advise against using Grammarly suggested text wording. It is considered AI generated text. Okay. Again, when Grammarly says, don't say it this way, say it that way, stick with your way. All right. Trust your own words. Good writing does not have to be perfect. And then um I can't show you an example right now without exposing, another student because I just need to make it anonymous. But I can make another video showing you the assignment folder from my perspective. And even when you upload assignments, you'll see, or you may have to refresh the page, but you'll see a percentage, next to your assignment. That is the percentage of material that came from outside sources. If it's under 15%, that's fine. But another layer of that, which I don't know if they've updated Turnitin to where you can see it, but um, I can click that number and it gives me an additional like AI percentage. All right. They should make that visible for you all. I don't know if they have made it yet, but I always share the results, with students, when there is some AI in there. And then, that can potentially lead to a discussion. All right. But, the point being, use your own words. Use your own words. Use your own words. I cannot stress that enough. All right. Use your own words. You are fully capable. All right, code of conduct. You can go through that yourself. Here's some just weights. Whatever class you're in, okay, always pay attention to how assignments are weighted. All right. So here's our assignments, final draft of argument essay. That's going to be our last assignment, and it's the heaviest weighted. There's a causal analysis, a narrative essay, pre-writing, just exercises we do, before essays. Inquisitive exercises, I will come back to inquisitive. And then there's the discussion forum. Okay. Letter grades, I use the standard OCC scale. Okay. Um, if you are wanting to transfer a class, okay, or if you're interested in one of, the many programs OCC offers, gotta stay in this region and above, right? Gotta get a C or better. To transfer a class, I know you have to have a C or better. Okay. Most colleges in Michigan do take our Comp 1, Comp 2. So, just make sure you're, doing whatever you gotta do to stay afloat, right? Okay. If you find yourself falling behind, okay, let's communicate. Being a student is, or it can be overwhelming, all right? And I'm sure, many of you probably have just like life stuff going on. So if you're ever, falling behind, um, just let me know. Let me know and we can work something out. What you don't want to do is wait until like the final weeks of the semester and, say, hey, Norwood, can I turn in, these assignments from, 2 months ago? The answer to that is probably going to be no, unless you had like some medical issue going on. But try your best, to stay current. Okay. And here's the late policy. Again, you can go through that yourself. All right. Um, Here are some time management strategies. Okay, these links should still be active. Okay, also, I have material about like overcoming procrastination, and I can get that added to D2L. All right. In Mark, if you don't show any activity in the class, I do have to put a mark in for you. And this is more about like financial aid administration, wants us to put a mark in just for students who, haven't showed to the class with it. It's the first 20% of the class, which usually is about like the first 3 weeks. All right. And for this particular section, in marks will be going in September the 8th. All right. Once the end mark goes in, it is irreversible. I can do a grade request for it, but odds are it's gonna get rejected. So just make sure you're active in the class. Do a discussion post, make sure you're keeping up with, assignments. Or, if you have some life stuff going on, just shoot me an email, say, hey Norwood, I'm still in the class. All right. Student policy, FERPA. FERPA, this just means, I can't communicate with anyone about your progress in the class except with you. Okay. Also, when we communicate, make sure you're emailing me from your OCC email address. If you email me from your personal email address, my response is going to have to be, hey, can you please resend this from your OCC email? Okay. ASC, the Academic Support Center has like great programs. Most of them have gone digital, so you can kind of do them at your leisure. Um, I know there are some good ones related to, writing in English, so, look into those. There's also like if you're a first-time student, there's just some good workshops to help you, navigate that process, especially the first semester. First semester where you're getting your bearings, sometimes it can be kind of tough. All right. want to say that's it. Yeah, here's our calendar. Some things, maybe updating, maybe changing on our calendar, but I will update you guys in enough time for that. All right. Now, just some additional things. Okay. Going back here. Inquisitive. All right. Now, that's a separate component, right? It's associated with our textbook, right? So you want to go back into our textbook. Okay. And here's the web address, if you just want to go, if you just want to type it in. My suggestion to you all is to bookmark it, right? Um, bookmark D2L also if you want to. That'll just make things more convenient for you. Okay. So I am going to sign in. All right, because I'm already signed in. But if it's your first time, you want to go here. No, I need to register, purchase, or sign up for trial access. Okay. And then, do the steps that I told you about. All right. Now, once you are signed in, okay, you've made your account. All right. You want to go here and mine says manage student sets, but yours is going to say add yourself to student set. You click that and it's going to ask you for a course ID. Okay. Our course ID is 957477. All right. And you enter that code and you'll have access to really you have access to all this. Here's our book, the ebook. It's an identical copy of our of the hard copy. Okay, you can just click this and you can highlight. Okay. You can highlight, you can take notes, all that. You can just click on this stuff. I believe there is an option to nope, this book doesn't have it. My Comp 2 book has an option where you can have it like dictated to you. All right. And then you can just go down here and, flip the pages and all that good stuff. All right. So textbook is there. Okay. And then the exercises, right? Click on inquisitive for writers, right? And since you're in the class, you'll only be able to see this. And here's just some assignments. Okay. Um, they're relatively short, and each one you can keep going with these assignments forever, but you don't have to. But you do have to answer at least 10 questions in order for your score to be recorded. All right. And here's the dates here. Okay. I just have this one, how to use Inquisitive. This one's due. Well, it's not really due. It's not really officially assigned. This is just more of a tutorial for your enrichment. All right. But also, the assignments, I'm not as much concerned about the score as I am about you all getting, the practice, right? So when I look at Inquisitive at the end of the semester, I'm pretty much just looking at like completion, right? So if you aren't scoring so well, that's fine. Just get the practice in. All right. And again, to get back to Inquisitive, you can just click textbook, it takes you there, or you can just type in the link, it'll take you here also. Okay. Course ID is here. And here's more detailed instructions of, that process I just went through about adding yourself to the class. Um, There's a video embedded in this document. It's the same process, just the course ID in the video is different. It's a video that I made last semester, but not much has changed since then, only the course ID. So 957477 is the actual course ID for this section. All right. And if you're in D2L, right, again, here's just our weekly modules. Okay. Go in the paragraphing resources module this week, you'll find just some things about paragraphing. There's also like within our textbook, oops, okay, you can just look at the chapter on paragraph development, okay, to help you get started this week. But there's a short assignment, okay, and it's just SMART goals. And really, it's about you kind of setting your own expectations for the semester. Like you can go through the syllabus, to see my expectations, but in reality, my expectations don't really mean much. Why? Because, your education's in your hands and you're only going to go as far, as the benchmarks you set for yourself. So in this first assignment, okay, what are your goals this semester? Okay. Again, don't just say like it's to do well because what does that mean? All right. And then one of the strategies we're going to be working on in this class this semester is, just expressing ourselves, with detail. So when you say do well, what does that mean? A 4.0, a 3.0, 2.5, right? Does it mean, you're going to manage your life outside of class, with your work in class? Are you working? Are you a parent? Are you all of the above? All right. So, try to think specifically. And then also if you're setting specific goals for yourself, that gives you like it helps you, set a plan. Okay. And then the next paragraph, right? What's your plan? Okay. What's your plan? What's your plan to achieve your goals? Okay. Is it to, maybe work, fewer hours at your job, right? Is it to, set, time in your day for when you quote unquote do school, right? That's also something I advise to you all though. Have a set time where you're in school, right? Since we are an asynchronous course, so we don't have predetermined meeting times. You need not you need to, but it's a good idea for you to say, hey, from 11 to 1, I'm not working or, I'm not with the kids or I'm not doing anything. So that's going to be my school time. All right. So, like if you have a time like that and you stick to it every day, it's easy to get into a routine where, school is just part of your day. All right. Um, if you need some assistance, turning it in, check out that upload documents to D2L video. Okay. So I think that's that for now, Brian. I don't want to talk your ear off on this video. Okay. If you have any questions, about anything, just shoot me an email and I'm happy to assist. Okay. I know there's probably some things I forgot, but I will be back in touch with you all. All right. Have a great day, folks.